Natalie Abrahams, the founder of iMatter Foundation. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. And you, Hazel?
I'm doing super. So just tell us a bit about yourself and this new venture that you've ventured on into.
So I'm Natalie Abrahams. I'm actually a survivor of gender-based violence. I'm a mom and a wife and a grandmother. And I started this work in the GBV space because when I was going through it, and this was back in the late 90s, I was constantly told that, this type of behavior is normal and there's no reason to behave like this because your partner is going to change eventually. And I constantly heard from aunts and, aunts in the community, and they were like, that's what I go through. And, you don't see me carrying on like that. And I just thought, no, that's not right. My mom was never a victim. I don't know that any of my aunts were ever victims. And I just didn't see why this type of behavior is acceptable. So it was a challenge in our marriage at first because my husband didn't understand why I needed to always speak about my past. Eventually, he started supporting me and we started speaking to couples. So yeah, we've started the iMatter. We've always been doing the work, and it's support and care to everyone affected by GBV, not only victims, survivors, and families as well. I have a very soft spot for children. And I also believe in reconciliation. And we are very grateful that a lot of the women and families that we deal with, there is reconciliation. Not for everybody. Sometimes we do have fatalities, and sometimes people decide, no, this person is not going to change, and they walk away. So we've officially launched the NPO as a full-time service in our community. I am in Eden Park, in the south of Johannesburg. We are under the Ekurhuleni municipality. We've now launched the service full-time. And I must say that it's exciting to see what the community's idea of our services is, because it doesn't just stop at GBV. It's literally everything to do with the family. It's a beautiful journey, and here we are.
Great. So can I just take you back to your personal story? You said you're a GBV survivor. Was this from your previous relationship or your current relationship? And also, what kind of gender-based violence were you exposed to?
Previous relationship, it was physical abuse. My then boyfriend was a cheater. Every single time I confronted him, he would literally beat me up. I still have some scars in my face because he would make sure that, he left me with a scar every single time. From jumping out of a moving vehicle to being, I wouldn't say stabbed, but scratched really deeply in my face. I don't know why I kept forgiving him. We had a son together, and, like I said previously, people always say, he's going to change and men behave like that and he's going to grow out of it, but he never grew out of it. And I walked away. And for many of us, many women out there, especially when you come from a family where GBV is not prevalent, in my family, people were like, just keep it quiet. Like, don't say anything. Like, let's just deal with it. Yeah, it's not necessary for everybody to know. And at that time, I felt like everybody needs to know, I need to let people know. So if there's another woman out there that's going to get involved with him, she needs to know what she's putting herself into. I also felt at the time that there wasn't enough support for me as a victim, and I didn't really have the platform, the support. We're very, very fortunate these days. There's so many organizations and people and civil society that's there and that's reaching out, that you can phone and you can book into a shelter. But back in the late 90s, it was something that was very under the carpet. People didn't speak about it, and you would only hear that a woman was affected by GBV when she was trying to tell you, listen, I'm going through this, or I'm going through this. And I just felt like, no, man, that's not right. I want my voice to be heard. And I want people to know that GBV can affect everybody. And I think I also realized through my own experience that a lot of women keep quiet because the family, the support, the society, the community where she is, encourages her to keep quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, you're a strong girl, just get over it and, live beyond that moment. And I remember for me, many times they would say to me, and I mean, I never had blue eyes, but I would have bruising on the sides. I would have bruising on my arms. There were many times where my jaw was so swollen that I couldn't do that. So I couldn't swallow anything. And I just thought, this is not right, because I felt like there was somebody that's perpetrator. Like, they're so trained. How do they know where to hit you?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was very curious, to try and understand, like, am I the only one going through this? Are there other people going through this? And so I started sharing my story at church, at youth, with friends, with family, with women. And yeah, it grew into this organization where I'm now a published author of 3 books. I share my story on all social media platforms, and media opportunities that I get. I share my story, and I try and encourage women to get out while they still can.
Yes.
Because I've also witnessed in my journey that a lot of women do not get out alive, and that's why I do what I do, and why I would stand up and say I'm a survivor, and I know what you're going through, because I don't want any woman to lose her life when she can get out.
Absolutely. Lingering a bit longer on your story, I just want to zone in a bit into it, because it obviously links into the work that you are doing. And that is what undergirds your passion for what you do. You spoke about how GBV in the past, and even now, is still rubbed off, is normalized. And also people tend to sweep it under the carpet. And at what point did you decide to leave? And what made you decide to leave? Because like you mentioned, that a lot of women find it very hard to leave. What was that trigger for you? What was that switch? Yes, you started talking about your story, but what was that crossover for you that you said, enough is enough, I am going, and I'm no longer looking back?
For me, it was actually on a Christmas day, and there wasn't a fight, funny enough. But I looked at this man, and we were having lunch, and we were sitting with family and friends, and I looked at him and I thought, like, is this the same man that just like beat me 3 nights ago, And all of a sudden I had that rude awakening that this is going to be my life. Like, I will be beaten in secret, and then in public I must bring you lunch and I must serve you. And it was such a moment, because there was no argument, there was no fight, but I was having this fight with myself, and I kept saying to myself, like, is this going to be your life? And I started thinking about people that are role models in my life, and I thought, I wonder if this is how her life is. And all of a sudden, at that moment, I started identifying that some people's behavior actually proved to me that they were victims in silence. And I just got up and I said, I am not going to be silenced. And I had bought him a chain for Christmas, and I got up and I took the chain off his neck, and I said, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. And everybody was like, what is going on?
In front of everybody.
Yes. And I left, and people thought, maybe she had too much champagne. It was the fact that the same hands that hug me and embrace me and care for me are the same hands that harm me and hurt me. And that, to me, I just could not. I could not. And I realized that I'm going to live a double life if I stay in this relationship. And people are never going to believe me when I tell them, because especially I think men that are perpetrators, they're very charming. Yes. The ladies' men, they dress well, they look well, they smell well. Very sweet with the tongue. And when you going crazy, you're like, beat me up. And people are like, you crazy girl. You are so crazy. Just relax. Look at this man. He's so calm.
Exactly.
And that to me was just like, no. I got up and I said to him, I deserve better than you. And I'll never forget, his mother said to me, when they realized that, I'm serious and she said to me, you better get yourself a better man, because, you see my son, he's going to be like the man, he's the man. And yeah, no, he was the man, still is the man, still gets every girl that he wants to. But I'm happily married for 24 years this year. I will never look back. I hope that if there's a lady out there and she's living this life and, portraying this image that's not a true reflection of her life and her marriage or a relationship, I really hope that she has the courage to get up and leave now, because from what I've seen, unless somebody really wants to change and make the effort to change, they don't.
Not gonna happen.
People will treat us the way that we allow them to treat us. And yeah, it brings me to my marriage, where I'm a bit of a, I fight back and I'm rowdy and rough, but
I want to come to that. I want to come to that conversation.
Yeah.
Just to touch a bit on what you just said regarding if somebody wants to get help, they will get help. We had an interview with Matrix Man around men and suicide. And apparently it takes about 23 years for a man just to open up and admit and get help. If society keeps telling you he's going to change, just have it in mind that it takes an average of 23 years for a man to just open up about whatever's going on with him and get help. So this is advice to a lot of women. You can choose to spend 23 years waiting for this to happen, or you can take interventions like what you have done. You decided you're not going to put up with this. So coming to your journey, so you've discovered and you've realized you've made that decision and you take your chain and you walk out. Let's talk about your healing part, the most hardest part, which is your healing, which I assume then led you into your second marriage, and what that was like, carrying all of that. Did you go through your healing first, then you got married, or you got married and then you went through your healing process? And what did the healing process look like?
I literally lost all my friends because we had a lot of mutual friends. I kind of feel like people treated me differently because they expected me to hold on. Like I mentioned earlier, you hear the older ladies telling us that, no, this is what marriage is like. And I wasn't married to my first boyfriend. We were engaged. We never got married. So it was a very lonely recovery. Everybody that said, the day when you have the courage to leave, I will support you. Very few of them were actually there. And so my healing journey was, what I did was, I was a single mother for just over a year. And back then in the late 90s, counseling and trauma counseling wasn't very popular. So I did a lot of self-healing. And I read books. I did a lot of prayer and meditation. I registered to do another course, which obviously kept my mind busy. Because my friends isolated from me and now became his friends and, his new partner's friends, I just hung out with my sisters and my son. And later on, there was one friend that we reconnected and I just hung out with her. But it's very lonely. And, you sometimes ask yourself, did I make a mistake? I think there are moments when you kind of regret it, especially when you realize you don't get invited to a lot of events. All of a sudden you get excluded from a lot of things. Yes. But I thank God, for my support structure. My parents were there, my aunts were there, my cousins were there for me. So I was never really alone, although I felt alone most of the times. I always had family. I always could go back and just pray and cry, pour out my heart before the Lord. But yeah, the healing journey, I think it takes a lot of times, because later on, even when you move on with your life and when you do get married, I got married to my husband in 1999, and when you do get married, there are certain things that trigger old feelings or trauma from your previous relationship. So I think it does take a while for you to mature completely. And learn how to deal with the trauma from the past. But I think the most important thing to remember is that it's a journey and it's not a destination. So even 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, and for me now, I think it's about 26 years down the line. When you speak about it, I still feel a sense of gratitude, because although he never killed anyone, I kind of like feel if I had stayed at that time, he could have hurt me more than what he has done. And, I could have ended up worse than I am right now. So I think it's a personal journey for every person. And I can't really tell somebody else how to heal. But what I can say is that it's not easy. There are going to be days when it's difficult, when you regret it, when you question yourself, and when you feel that, maybe I should have just stayed, or maybe I should have just not lived. I keep reminding myself why I left. And when I remind myself why I left, I remind myself that this person did not value me in the manner that I value myself. And this person did not respect me and give me the respect that I feel I deserved. And he didn't treat me the way that you're supposed to treat someone that you love. You don't beat someone that you love until they cry, until they're swollen or bruised, or have to go to a hospital for treatment. No.
And still don't change, and still come back and beat them. Now, coming into your new marriage, how did you unpack this trauma? How did it show up for you? Were there any triggers?
I think from the beginning, because he had also just come out of a failed relationship. And we both made it very clear what we wanted. And so when we were dating and quickly got married, so we got married in the same year that we started dating, I think it was very smooth sailing, and the trauma and the triggers only came afterwards. And for me, the triggers were that my husband wasn't physically abusive, but he was very stern because he comes from the Free State, and the way that they speak and the language they use is very different to what I'm accustomed to. And that was a bad trigger for me, because I always thought that he would become violent towards me. And I think for both of us, what we realized in our marriage was that we both had a lot of unresolved trauma. And for me, it was from my previous relationship, and for him, it went a little bit further down the line. And although we've always been out there helping people, we've always also been out there helping ourselves. And I said it to somebody yesterday, and I said, we married for 24 years this year, but we'll go to counseling, we'll go to trauma sessions, we'll go to marriage seminars, we invest in things like that. We buy books about good marriages, we watch movies to help us, we look at things, how to deal with anger. We have conversations about how am I showing up, and have I changed for good, or have I changed for better? So we are constantly reconstructing ourselves to show up better for each other. And I think that is one of the reasons we have such a good and a solid relationship and such a great bond, is because I know that he's not broken, and he knows that I'm not broken, but I know that I've had breakages, and I need to deal with those breakages so that it doesn't impact him. And he knows that he has had breakages, and he knows that he needs to deal with that. So it's like we're always considering each other. We speak a lot. So we're very fortunate in the sense that we have a very great communication relationship. And, verbal and non-verbal, like we have cues. So we know, like, no, this is on, no, that's not on, which is a good thing. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, trauma isn't something that goes away. It can show up at any time. And in 2021, I saw that with my husband when he tried to commit suicide, and we almost lost him. And, I thought we were in a good space. We were doing very well in every single area of our lives. But lockdown and the isolation of working from home and the separation from, certain people in his life just basically brought up trauma that he had thought he had dealt with, and he thought, he's over it. And it just put him in such a bad space that he just, at that time, felt that he wasn't worthy, and he doesn't want to live anymore. And, if he's gone, a few people will miss him. And so we started our process all over again. And it was a new process, because now it was, how do you, when everything is going well in your life, how do you find yourself in that deep, dark place. And so we've had to deal with that for the past 2 years. And so mental wellness and, behavior and trauma is very close to my heart, because I feel it's something that is always with us. There's always some type of trauma and behavior that we are trying to overcome. So yeah, it's quite a journey doing the work, but also learning and going through our own trauma at the same time.
Yeah, I think sometimes life allows us or makes it necessary that we go through certain things for us to understand, firstly. Secondly,
Absolutely.
to also pave a path for the next generation.
Absolutely.
And for other people as well. It may be painful. I'm really touched by your husband's experience. It may be painful at that moment, but it's usually for greater good. Speaking about healing, what I've seen in this field is that a lot of people carry a lot of trauma, a lot of things. The unfortunate part is that it's very difficult to find safe space. So part of healing is being vulnerable. It's accepting and being vulnerable.
Absolutely.
And from the work that you are doing, it sounds like you're cultivating that kind of safe space for victims, for even perpetrators, I assume, and people just going through stuff. Do you want to take us through your center, iMatter Foundation, and the journey that you've been on, and what services you're offering? What kind of work are you doing?
With iMatter, we offer support and care services. We also do referrals for people that need to get out of a situation and obviously need to get away from home. But with the support, what we do is we to see what the issues are. Usually it's the victim that will come to us first. So I have a coaching package that is designed especially for people that are going through trauma. So we would take them through those sessions, the one-on-one coaching, and just help them through that trauma. Every case is obviously different. Some people need to be evicted from their homes. We need to find a place for them. Other people can stay in the homes but not reconcile immediately with their partners. And other people can stay in the homes and doesn't want to reconcile with the partner. We will find that she's not working or she doesn't have family support. So then we would work with her to try and understand what her skills are, where she's at in a mindset, what experiences she has, and obviously try and assist her to start a business, or then try and help her to find a job. And I must say, this year we've seen great success with ladies starting to bake or starting to sew or just starting to sell things and almost instantly becoming, independent from their partners. We are also collaborating with other organizations, and mental wellness initiatives is one of the organizations that we partner with. And so Tracy will be coming through and doing the trauma release exercises. Our small group, we've got a session this coming Thursday. And we've also partnered with Heartlines and Faith in Action. And they also come through and we do a 6-session or 5-session program where we offer causes to the community. And this is basically open to any person that wants to improve their own life. We don't have a premises yet, and I'm really hoping and praying that we do get a premises very soon, because the fact that we're out there and people know about us, and people come to us for services, we just see that the demand is increasing every single day, and the services are also increasing. So, we now have people contacting us and saying, I've got a very ill family member, I need a hospice. I have a person that's not working, they don't have any paperwork. Can you assist us to get their ID? Or can you assist us to get a child's birth certificate? And I've learned so much, to get a birth notice and a clinic card. And so our services have really extended. And so when we look at GBV and how GBV affects an individual and a family and a community, the work is not only limited to supporting the person with the trauma or the physical abuse that they've gone through, but it's really looking at the holistic well-being of that person, of their family, of their community where they live, and trying to understand what their needs are, where the shortfalls are. And I was saying to one of the ladies that I was speaking to this morning, I said, it's very sad that I think 90% of our cases, there's an absent father, so you find that either with the perpetrator or the victim, there's an absent father. So she's staying because he's like a father figure to her, or he's beating her because he doesn't know how to be a man. And so, also speaking about my husband's experience, our services have really extended, and I'm trying to engage more men on a personal level to encourage them to start coming into these programs and coming into the workshops and start speaking. Because, if we can start healing our men and our boys, Hazel, I think we're going to make such a bigger impact in our communities. I've got a meeting with one of our primary schools on Thursday afternoon, and they have 15 boys. So I've been speaking to them since the beginning of the year about behavior, 12, 13-year-olds acting out, misbehaving, fighting, engaging in gangsterism and substance abuse. And so IMAT is going to do a program with these learners. There's 15 of them. And we're really just going to look at what their values are, what they believe, who they are, how do they see themselves, where do they fit in, and just try and understand where they're at, what type of support they have, what their skills are. Can they play soccer? Can they do drama? So that is why I'm really trying to collaborate with all the organizations in and around our area. So, when we put these youth and these women and men through programs, we can say to them afterwards, well, there is an organization that does drama. And now that, you've done your trauma healing year with IMAT, we're going to send you to this organization, and you can go and explore your skills and, do something that makes you feel like you belong. I mean, I've met an incredible lady that teaches people how to be self-sustainable through farming. And, I'm waiting for her to let me know when she can come through. There's an organization that does youth development, and it's also young, vibrant people. They're currently working in Soweto, and I've said to them, please come through and speak to our youth. They really just speak to youth, and IMAT cannot do everything. We just don't have the scope to do everything. But what I've seen is through our collaborations and forming partnerships with other organizations, we are able to offer the community so much more. And then might I just add, 2 years ago when I just joined the NSP, I reported our police station because our Victim Empowerment Center was basically, whenever you went there, there was never anyone available. And 2 years later, things have changed so much. I'm working hand in hand with them. We're busy planning an awareness campaign. We've got a follow-up meeting tomorrow. So we want to do a GBV and human trafficking awareness, because from our meetings that we host every week, we've realized that a lot of our cases are people go missing, and sometimes it's just somebody that's naughty. But we've seen in our greater area in Ekurhuleni, there's a lot of human trafficking. In GBV, we find that a lot of women are coming forward and saying, I need help, when they are in that situation or when they're in that moment, but they're not following through with the case, with the protection order, with the counseling, with the support. So they'll come for 1 or 2 sessions and then they fall off. Or they come to SEPS, they get the J88 forms, they say they're going to court, and then they never follow through. So one of the things that SEPS and IMAT wants to do with our local government is really bring awareness to our community and speak to them about GBV and prevention. And, I had somebody phone me the other night at 11 o'clock saying, SEPS never does their work. And so I get on the phone with SEPS and I'm phoning our station commander. And this person, they keep phoning SEPS, but they're not pressing charges. So SEPS cannot do anything if you're not pressing charges. You cannot just phone them when your husband is acting up. So we want to educate our people and also let them know, what SEPS's responsibility is and how many resources they have. But in turn, also create an opportunity and a platform for civil society to speak to SEPS to address their frustrations, and see how we can bring the two together, work together, and make our community and our extended community safer and better for everyone. So we're really striving to get to a point where we have a community where all stakeholders are engaging each other and where we're working together, and where we don't have to duplicate work, but where we can really call on each other when we need to offer the services to our community.
One thing I'm loving about your foundation is that it really is living the values of the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence, which is collaboration. The strategy talks about GBVF being a whole societal problem.
Yes.
immatter is bringing everybody to the play. When you hold here, and let's pull this together. So like you spoke about a lady in agriculture, you spoke about self-development, you spoke about the justice system, you spoke about the youth and other organizations that you're partnering with to speak to the youth. That sounds like the real spirit of the NSP as we know it. And well done on that. Just to touch a bit on the justice system, from our last edition, I think that was one of the problematic areas in terms of the justice system, it not being integrated. Despite the shortcomings of the victims, do you find that justice system also has its own shortcomings?
They definitely do. In our area, the first thing, I say this with all due respect to them and the work that they are trying to do. I mean, our police station is just not equipped to service the area. So we've had a lot of extensions to our area. And the other day when I sat with our station commander and we're in contact on a daily basis, and I said to him, but I mean, I've got 3 people telling me that they've reported and there's no van. And he says to me, but our area extends so far. We have, I think I stand under correction, I think it's about 300,000 people we have to service with 8 vehicles. And our area really goes very far. So I understand they also have frustrations, but I also feel like some of the people are just not very passionate about the work that they do. And I do still find that especially male police don't have a lot of compassion for female victims that come into the station. But we are working on that within our police station and trying to get more female in the front line, especially when we look at the GBV desk and the VEC center. So what we as a community or police and civil society and organizations are trying to do is really express our frustrations that we all experience with each other and find solutions that will benefit the greater society and obviously the police station. And, we really hope that they can extend our police station and put in more staff and, add more vehicles, because it would just improve the service that we are currently offering from a justice point of view to our community. I must also tell you that, we are able to call on other organizations, security companies, and other organizations, neighborhood watches in our community, and men. So when SAPS is not able to service, I thank God that we can call on other people, and we are all working together. So it's not anybody working in silos or duplicating work. It's just extending the service to somebody else that can help at that time.
Okay. I hope this momentum, this fire actually catches on to the other community, but I'm dying to see what Eden Park is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years with the work that you're doing. Me too. So just in closing, what's the ultimate vision for immatter? What do you hope to achieve? What kind of support do you need? And how can people that need to support you get a hold of you? And even victims that need your services, how do they get a hold of you?
Okay, so our ultimate vision is really to create a community and country where everybody feels valued and where they feel safe. Our contribution to this is to offer our support services through the workshops, the counseling, and the coaching services that we offer. And then we will continue to collaborate with other organizations to make sure that a community like Eden Park is not excluded, because we don't have a lot of NGOs and NPOs in our community. So what immatter aspires to do is to really connect with other organizations and bring the value of their services to our community as well. We really hope that we can find a premises. It would make our life so much easier if we have a premises and we can set up a center. Once the center is up, we will run our workshops and our coaching and counseling in the morning. In the afternoons, we want to use that facility as a homework center. So for any child that needs assistance with homework and that needs to use the internet, we want to make it available for them. And then on the weekends, we want to rotate the services and make it a social center. So 1 week we'll have the youth there, 1 week we'll have couples there, we'll have a 1 week for men and 1 week for women, where they can just have a social session, watch a movie, play a game, and they're not exposed to any drugs, alcohol, or behavior that is not conducive for their well-being. And then at that center, we also wish to eventually have a space for GBV, maybe have an emergency placement center. So while people are waiting for referrals, we can place them there. In the meantime, our Victim Empowerment Center at Police Station is up and running, and our Tutuzela Center is also up and running. So we're currently referring our people there. And we'll also like to be self-sustainable. So we'd like to plant and feed people from the garden, and also bring in the elderly, which is what we're doing now. Is we just once a week, we're just doing a care pack for the elderly, and we want to extend our services to the elderly and really see how we can help them to live a stress-free life till they die. People can reach me at Natalie, Natalie, at i-matter.co.za. My contact number is 082-774-9616, and my Facebook page is iMatter-Coach Nats.
You mentioned something, I think it was before we started the interview, something about you having land. The foundation has gotten land. How far in terms of developing that land? And
so we've applied for land in Eden Park. Yes, so we followed up this morning with our Ikroleni, with our municipality, and we're just hoping to hear from them soon. So as soon as we've got the land, then we'll put up some containers where we'll be able to service from, and we will keep you posted. iMatter is currently a partner to the NGBV Collective. We are contributing our work into Pillar 4, so we will definitely keep you posted of our developments, and we really hope and pray that we'll be able to have some property at least in the next 3 months, because like I said, the demand for our services is increasing, our partners are increasing, and we need to start having a permanent structure or place or address where we can just tell people every Monday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, you can come there at that time, and that's what we'll offer. So it will make our lives, and it will make it easier for the community if we have a permanent place. So I really hope that we get it soon.
Fingers crossed. Thank you so much for your time. And I must say, I'm taken aback in terms of the work that you're doing. And we wish you all the best. And I hope many more will come on board to support you.
Thank you, Hazel. Thank you for having me. And to everyone, goodbye and God bless.